Anyone who's visited Sydney recently would know that the heart of the city is a vast construction site. Over time and over budget, Sydney's floundering light rail project is wreaking havoc on businesses and commuters in the country's largest city. But big spending, out-of-control projects are becoming all too common around the nation. Tonight, leaked New South Wales Cabinet documents point to a political culture where economic caution is thrown out the window in the rush to approve expensive and ultimately disruptive schemes. Greg Miskelly reports.
It's Sydney's latest planning fiasco. From the harbour to the eastern suburbs, an 11-kilometre construction site is disrupting roads, shops and homes.
I'm noticing a decline in my business. I walk down the road, what do I see? Every time I come here, I see more destruction on the road. I see the footpaths with holes in there.
When work began back in 2015, the light rail was touted as a solution to the city's traffic woes.
Before the election, we tested it and we're absolutely convinced it's the right way to go for the future of Sydney.
3 years later, Sydney's light rail is more than a year behind schedule. Optometrist Greg Thanos has operated his business here in Kingsford since 1991. He says 2 years ago, when the jackhammers arrived, customers started disappearing.
Within the last 2 months, 2 businesses, a florist across the road here, has been there for about 20 years or more. They've closed business because they weren't getting the passing traffic. Coffee shop down the road, been here for many years, closed down as well.
The state government has already spent $2.1 billion on the project. That's $500 million over the original budget. Legal battles are likely to trigger further cost blowouts. Spanish builder Acciona is suing the state government for $1.1 billion over the unexpected cost of moving underground cables. Tonight, 730 can reveal a 2012 government analysis rated the light rail project as a loss-making lemon. Consultants examined 26 different routes and found that none yielded any savings in travel time. Despite the negative findings, just a few months later this route, from the city to Sydney's east, was given the green light.
What light rail does is allow us to move more people more reliably, more quickly.
The government pushed ahead, despite predictions the billion-dollar costs exceeded the benefits. After the project was announced, a second analysis was commissioned, which boosted the benefits by more than 50%. The second analysis, obtained by 730, included supposed benefits that had nothing to do with transport. Economist Leo Dobes has seen the figures and says these measures, not included in the first study, boosted the results.
And it does it in 2 ways. One is so-called non-use values, where people are asked, how much extra would you think this tram will benefit you if you never ever use it, but you just like having it there? This is very, very dicey stuff. And the other one is something called wider economic benefits, which also is fairly dodgy because the numbers really don't apply to a small project like the light rail.
Wow.
The state's Transport Minister says the early appraisals aren't relevant as light rail is part of a bigger picture.
People love light rail and there's no doubt when we integrate light rail with our train network, with our metro network, with our bus network, with our active transport network, it's going to be part of a jigsaw puzzle designed to get the city moving.
Back on Sydney's upmarket George Street, construction is still wreaking havoc.
Everybody along the light rail route has been impacted. The minimum that any business has dropped is 30%. And then, of course, those that have closed have lost everything, but there are many still trading down 90% and they're just hanging on.
Businesswoman Angela Vithulkas is walking away from her family-run cafe. The City of Sydney councillor is now leading a $40 million class action lawsuit, as well as a political campaign against the light rail.
It is almost an act of rebellion on the part of small business owners to stand up for our own rights and say enough is enough and we need to be compensated for our losses.
We are in commercial negotiations around claims and modifications and program timing. There is no hiding that fact, but the reality is that this is going to be a phenomenal project.
Sydney is not alone with its infrastructure problems. In recent years, dozens of projects across the country have blown out by hundreds of millions. From the Clem Jones Tunnel in Brisbane to highways in Western Australia and South Australia and Melbourne's Westgate Tunnel. A recent Grattan Institute report said taxpayers have paid more than $28 billion extra in unexpected costs on transport infrastructure over the last decade. Professor Leo Dobes says more rigorous and transparent cost-benefit analysis is sorely needed.
Politicians should be confronted with one very basic question for any big project, and that is, how many people will die because of your project? In other words, if you spend $2 billion on a tram, how much medical equipment is not going to be put into a hospital, and how many people will die unnecessarily because the equipment is not there?
They want to know that they can get from point A to point B as quickly as possible in a growing city. And that's why we are investing like we are. $87 billion in infrastructure in the next 4 years.
All the while, the excavation grinds on and the personal losses keep growing.
The streets are ruined, mate. They're destroying the footpath, and we've got 2 more years of this. Well, I have to say it's destroying me a bit. I thought I'd be okay for this. I thought I'd be able to handle it a lot better. Every time someone comes in from there, they say, how can we help you? Oh, my answer is just finish it. Simple, do it quickly, finish it. It can't be that hard, just finish it.
You got it?
At the end of the day, when you have those last moments in a business you've been in for 17 years, which was, a good part of my adult life, the saddest moments are the people you'll never see again,